Hello, I'm Dylan.
I'm Kiyan.
This is Zenith, that podcast where we introduce our very own Darth Vader, because this week we watched Seek, Locate, and Destroy. There's no and there, but I feel like there should be.
Written by Terry Nation.
Directed by Veer Lorimer.
And aired on February 6th, 1978.
Yeah, so this is the extent of where I think Kiyan's watched.
Yeah, I haven't watched
ahead.
anything past this. If you have listened to our earlier episodes, you know that I'd watched the first 6 episodes in preparation for this podcast, but I haven't watched anything past this. I know most of the big spoilers of the show that are coming up across
Big
all
spoilers that
seasons.
Blake is the main character.
Well, anyway.
That massive spoiler.
Yeah, so I know what's coming, but that doesn't mean I won't enjoy what's coming, I guess.
But you might not enjoy what's coming.
No, I probably will. I basically, rewatching these 6 episodes, I basically think they're way better than when I first watched them. And can only go up from here.
The show might just tank next week. Episode 7 might just be the worst episode of television ever produced.
The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve exists, so...
The MacGyver reboot exists.
Someone was telling me about how good that was recently.
No. I only watched 2 episodes of it, and that was enough for me. Nope. Basically one of the worst shows on television for me.
But this is Blake 7, not one of the worst shows on television.
Should start a MacGyver podcast.
Why not?
Watch the original, and then we can watch the reboot and be super disappointed.
Just like Doctor Who.
We should start a CBS television universe podcast, because CBS, MacGyver, Hawaii Five-0, NCIS, and NCIS LA are all set in the same universe.
Jesus.
Anyway, this episode begins, I guess, in medias res, because Blake just beams. It actually starts with Blake beaming into what looks like an oil refinery, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks almost like the same base from what was it? The one where they meet Callie. Can't remember episode names.
Cygnus Alpha, I think.
Yeah, Cygnus Alpha.
So, yeah, but this one, I don't know, for some reason I really thought they were filming in an oil refinery. Maybe it's because they actually filmed in broad daylight for once.
Yeah, but so this is the first introduction of the down and safe line, which I guess becomes sort of a catchphrase, tagline type thing.
Another podcast nicked away before we even considered starting a Blake 7
you.
podcast. Yeah, so, well, Blake's on the planet, which is, you can assume is Kentaro, which is where they were going at the end of the web, but isn't confirmed to be Kentaro till, 15 minutes into the episode.
Probably one of those things where they just jammed a bunch of audios in this gap.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a pretty, you could theorize that there's a pretty big gap there. This is when we see also Villa's color-coded jumpsuit, I guess, for the first time.
Yeah, one thing, I've been meaning to mention this for the past couple of weeks, but this is in the future, obviously, but they all look like they wear sort of medieval style tunics and whatever, so it's kind of strange, but...
fashion goes in cycles, so maybe it just happens that medieval fashion's in right now. Medieval chic.
All right. Anyway, there's some guards walking by, and Blake just literally walks right behind them without getting seen.
You know, that classic guard looks straight at him and doesn't see him thing.
That happens later. Villa just walks up and he's like, "So I've infiltrated your base, and I was just wondering where I could get in." They just stand there like, what's going on?
Yeah,
anyway, Villa beams down and he doesn't know where to go, but Blake sort of directs him into the dark alley.
There's a humorous line where Blake's like, "Is Villa ready?" And Villa's like, "Tell Blake I've come up with an ingenious new strategy. It's called running away."
Yeah, Villa got a lot of the one-liners in
this story.
Avon
got one.
I don't even remember what that one was.
It's later on when they find out Callie's alive, and Villa's like, "I knew it," and Avon's just like, "No, you didn't." And Villa's like, "You're right. No, I didn't. I'll go tell Can."
Yeah, all right. Well, it's not that witty.
No, it's not really.
Just Avon being Avon, I guess.
So Villa beams down because I guess Villa's job on the ship is going to be locksmith.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So he goes to open the gate, and there's just a small explosion in the control panel, kind of like that time Avon just set the control panel on fire 2 weeks ago.
Villa just looks at Blake, and the camera, like, hilariously zooms in on him, and he just shrugs. But some guards are coming, so Blake and Villa need to hide. And Villa says that, the door they need to get into to hide is locked, and Villa opens that one really quickly, and Blake is like, couldn't you have done that for the door we were trying to get into? And Villa says that he can open any door if he's scared enough.
But yeah, he has to analyze the gate because there's some sort of like biometric locking system that if you have approval, then it just unlocks for you and you can walk through.
Blake asks if he can just climb over, and Villa's like, yeah, if you want to set off the alarms.
I mean, it doesn't look like there's any sort of laser tripwire or anything, but I mean, maybe they just didn't have the budget for it. So Villa actually does succeed at getting the gate open, and then
does nothing for the rest of the episode.
And then they beam down Avon, and I was like, wait a minute, why couldn't they beam everybody down on the other side of that gate? Why did they have to open the gate to infiltrate the base?
Gotta pad out the episode, duh.
But, like, that's a pretty big oversight by Blake, at least. Blake's really making these missions as difficult as possible for his crew.
So they get in. Yeah, Avon gets beamed down.
Yeah, also really inconvenient, and they beam them all down, like, one at a time. Instead of just beaming them all down. Gan goes with Avon, I think, and Callie.
Yeah, I think they all go down at once.
Callie's jumpsuit is, like, sea foam green. She really has kind of the weirdest color out of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of Callie, I always just associate her with red because, you know, she was introduced wearing that red thing.
Yeah, well, now you have to associate Villa with red because Villa's jumpsuit is red. Gan's is, like, browny yellow, I think.
They all look in varying shades of, like, brown or gray, to be honest.
Avon is
like
definitely like
show.
A blue-gray, like we said last week.
Yep, Blake's is like a green, I guess. Ish.
Yeah, something like that. So.
I guess Jenna doesn't have one.
Well, yet.
But yeah, you don't really know what they're there for at this point. You don't really figure it out for another 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, because they're keeping their plan close to their chest, by which I mean they're just not saying it out loud, which is reasonable, I think.
I mean, yeah, they're the only ones there, and they probably went over it beforehand.
They need to distract some guards, so Villa kind of just walks up and goes, "Hi, I've infiltrated your base. Can you please tell me where the communications room is?" And the guards are like, "What?"
Meanwhile, Blake just walks up behind one of the guards, knocks him out, and Villa smashes the other one over the head with a briefcase thing.
His case of lockpicking tools, which looks suspiciously like Avon's long pointy stick.
She uses later in the episode. But yeah, I didn't know if these guards died. Like, did they just kill them or they knock them out? You know?
I mean, if they didn't die, they probably died in that explosion.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, they get into the room that they need to get into. And looks suspiciously like a retooled version of the lab from the web.
It's because it probably is a retooled version of the lab from the web. They have some other kind of cheap sets later on. There's one where it looks like Commander Travis is just standing in a parking garage in front of a concrete wall.
There's one. Okay, the room that Callie goes into in a minute or so. I mean, we often make jokes about, like, oh, it looks like they just recorded in a storage closet at the BBC. Now, this one actually looks like just a storage closet where they keep all their bins.
Like we said a couple weeks ago, Blake 7 is the epitome of guerrilla filmmaking. They're just filming at, like, all these random BBC office locations because they can look vaguely sci-fi if you film them from the right angle. And it's not like storage closets just cease to exist in the future, you know? You still got to put your stuff somewhere.
Wow, great justification. Anyway, they start setting charges all over the place.
Well, Gan starts setting charges. Blake just stands there and delegates, and Villa's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Avon's trying to get this device out of this other device.
Yeah, there's some cryptic dialogue about how they need to destroy something, and Blake says, like, no, we need to, I don't even remember what it was, but they're basically trying to get the communicator out of the, out of the system.
The cipher machine.
Yeah, the cipher machine, so they can decipher Federation coded messages, but Blake doesn't want to make it seem as if they took the machine, so he wants to.
Oh yeah,
I think, yeah, because one of them mentions, like, can't we just take the machine and leave? And Blake's like, no, we need to destroy everything, or else they'll know that we took the cipher machine, change their codes, and everything will be pointless.
yeah. Gan wants to just put one charge in that room that they're in, and that's Blake's like, no, we need to put two, and Gan's like, one will do, and Blake's like, no, we need total destruction.
No, don't try and give the orders here, Gan. I'm in charge.
Yeah, Gan. Remember your place, Gan. I can kick you off whenever I want, Gan. Just teleport you to space, Gan. Better watch your back when you're sleeping. Might just slap a teleporter bracelet on your arm and beam you into space. You won't even know you'll be dead.
Beaming back to Cygnus Alpha. Now, careful, you might wake up back on Cygnus Alpha again.
With Brian Blessed. Might have to deal with Brian Blessed. Oh, wait, no, we killed him. You want that to be you,
I wonder what
Gan?
happened to Cygnus Alpha now that Brian Blessed is dead. Cygnus Alpha spin-off when?
Maybe the society just fell apart without the charismatic leader that Brian Blessed's character was. Yeah, anyways, Callie is just guarding some prisoners.
Yeah, Blake orders Callie to, he orders everyone to watch the hallway, but he orders Callie to take all the guards and scientists into another room and just keep them there. This is the storage closet.
Yeah, and Callie, it's only her third week, and she's just already messing it up. One of the scientists picks up just a block, just legitimately just a block off of a shelf in front of them and turns around and just launches it at Callie, and she's like, ah! And they just kind of overpower her, and then one of the guards starts running towards the alarm, which is apparently outside and around the corner, so Villa starts chasing him down, and Villa's just too slow. Actually, that was right before Callie gets attacked.
Yeah, right.
Because Villa runs into the room and is like, Callie, I'm being chased and the alarm has sounded. Just thought you should know.
Yeah, Villa gets the guard right after he sets off the alarm, so, great job there, Villa.
But yeah, so the alarm's going off and then Callie gets attacked, and then, so the guards, well, they kind of knock her out, sort of, but not really. Then one of the guards just takes off his helmet for no readily apparent reason. He's like, yeah, it's nice, I can finally take off my helmet.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a reveal of, it's someone on the resistance side or something. Because later on, or in a minute or so, they bring up how resistance movements have started getting bigger now that word of Blake has been spread around. But no, it's actually just
a guy with a fabulous mustache.
Yeah. So,
and then Callie kind of overpowers him, but I think the other guards come running back in, and there's a scuffle, and her teleporter bracelet falls off.
Yeah, so she has to look for it, but Blake and the rest of them are about to be beamed up right before the explosions go off.
So they beam up. They
seconds to spare.
Yeah, and Blake's like, "You're cutting it a bit fine, Jenna."
There's a scene where Callie is desperately looking for her teleporter bracelet, and there's the charges are imposed over her face. But she doesn't make it in time. She gets caught in the blast and covered with rubble.
And dies. She was only on the crew for 3 weeks. She gets replaced next week
They make it out as if she dies. There's some question about it. It's not one of the things where she's main character, of course she's not going to die.
Plot armor.
I mean, maybe you can read it that way, but I obviously knew what was happening, but when I first watched it, I was like, wow, did they really just kill Callie? I thought they might have, but no, they didn't.
Yeah, so back on the ship, they
realize Callie's not there.
But they don't realize immediately. They don't realize till 5 minutes later when Blake's like, hey, I'll have Callie go put that away. And he's like, wait a minute, where is Callie?
Yeah, the interesting thing is that Blake only notices that one of his crew isn't there when he needs them to do something.
Yeah, kind of calls into question, Blake's like, hey, you're a friend of mine, right? But are they really? You didn't even notice they didn't come with you when you teleported.
I mean, starting this episode, and based on things I've read and heard, I think this is going to start being more apparent, is that Blake he calls them friends, but he basically just uses them as tools. Which, I mean, might have something to do with, the structure of the show, even. I mean, I guess I'm just sort of justifying this, but, Villa's only there to open locks. Yeah, I guess that's a fault of the show, but, Blake, I guess, maybe just sees him as a lockpick, and that's it.
Yeah.
Gan is just there to overpower people. I guess Blake maybe just sees him as, the brute force of the crew.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird then for Avon's character, because Avon always like makes it out like he's better than Blake. But
Blake
I mean,
projecting his insecurities.
it's like Avon would really kind of do the same thing in his position, just use everybody and then leave. I mean, and we know that's what Avon would do because he's pretty much explicitly said that's what he would do.
Yeah, I mean, I just came up with this on the spot, but I actually do like this theory that like the portrayal of the characters on the show is like how Blake sees them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Then does he just see Avon as like
Yeah, no, I mean,
I
think he I think he does. I think he you know, if you go by this I guess theory of mine that has probably been made before, honestly, but you know, maybe just is really insecure that Avon's there and is potentially better than him at like everything.
Avon's really the only person who challenges Blake in any sort of reasonable way.
Yeah,
I mean, Jenna kind of does in the story later on.
I do think all the other characters are probably more competent than Blake at like pretty much everything, but Avon is really the only one who like steps up against Blake, you know, often enough.
Yeah, I mean, Jenna does it like right now because Blake's like, we gotta go back for Callie, and Jenna's like, if you go back, you're killing all of us. And Blake's like, damn, she's too smart. Gotta start thinking of a way to kill her. Maybe I should slap a teleport bracelet on her when she's sleeping, beam her out into space.
Just beams his entire crew back to Cygnus Alpha. Take that. Don't mess with me now, will you?
Yeah, take that, Avon. You can try to take over my ship, Avon. He just gets super paranoid and goes insane.
Anyway, now we cut to the Federation.
For 20 minutes of this episode.
Yeah, this was it was really drawn out, but I actually did like how, you know, they're actually focusing on the villains of the show and you know, fleshing out the Federation as actual characters. You know, we're introduced to Servalan here and her head guard. I don't know if he's actually a main character throughout the show, but...
Yeah, the guy who seems really like he might be banging Servalan.
Yeah.
And then he could advance his career by just sleeping with his boss, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, he does seem like he's, you know, in the palm of Servalan's hand at the same time, so...
Yeah, well, I mean... She's pretty attractive, you know, I'm not gonna lie. So
okay, but is Servalan like a title or is it
I think that's
name?
her name. I think her title is Supreme Commander.
No.
And her name is Servalan. She's Supreme Commander Servalan.
Real creative titles here. Real creative, you know, Supreme Commander, Space Commander.
She like runs the military faction of the Federation, I guess. When we first meet her, she's in a meeting with these two guys and they're like, the president, apparently the Federation has a president. The president wants your assurance that this Blake guy is going to be taken care of because he's becoming like a legend. She's like, he's just a guy with a ship. And I mean, if he's just a guy, we can kill him.
He's more than a guy. He's an idea.
Well, that's what the guy says. He's like, he's an idea. And she's like, he's not an idea. If we kill him, no. Finger guns. Pew, pew.
So, yeah, I'm going to call in Space Commander Travis, you know, set him free because he was imprisoned for
there's some really clunky
humanity.
Dialogue in the Federation section because they're trying to, I guess Chris Boucher and Terry Nation are trying to set up these characters really quickly. So there's some pretty clunky dialogue, especially when Chief Head Guard comes in.
It's not that egregious, but this scene does drag on for like 20 minutes.
Yes, because once the two people are done, I guess, relaying the message from the president to Servalan, she kind of, you know, sends him out, and then she's like, hey, where's Travis? He was supposed to be here an hour ago. And I guess her secretary is like, oh yeah, he just docked. Well, he'll dock in like 20 minutes. And she's like, good.
Send him in right when he gets here. Actually, no, make him wait.
And then we get the scene with Servalan and Head Guard, who's definitely getting in those pants. They're like sitting on the couch really tenderly.
The guard tells Servalan that he's not willing. He doesn't say it outright, but he says that some factions are unwilling to take orders from Space Commander Travis.
Yeah, because he massacred a bunch of people, apparently.
And not only did he massacre a bunch of people, but there was an order to stop the attack, but he just killed everyone anyway.
Yeah, and then Servalan justifies this by saying an enemy doesn't stop being an enemy just because they surrendered. And I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that.
But then Servalan tells the guard that he can tell everyone who doesn't want to cooperate, i.e. him, that they'll be discharged or something really bad will happen to them if they don't take orders from Travis. And he's like, fine.
Yeah, and she basically says, yeah, I'm reinstating Travis with full honors. I mean, I investigated his case personally, and I thought he acted reasonably. And the guy's like, he killed, like, hundreds of thousands of people. And she's like, yeah, but, I mean, I'm going to give him his full rank back, so it doesn't really matter now that he's been stripped of his rank before, because he's going to have his full rank back, you know? He's going to have his full rank back.
Guard's just like, great.
Great.
So they send in Travis. Now, I think this actually happens a little bit later, but we'll just go ahead and explain it now. He comes in, and Travis is basically this show's very own Darth Vader.
Yeah, so we're gonna award him the best Darth Vader clone of 1978 award.
Right, because as per Mr. Drano's request, we've started doing awards.
Except because we're not doing any reasonable awards like Best Actor. We're going to be doing really obscure and specific awards because that's how we roll.
So congratulations, Travis. You're the recipient of our first award. Travis looks pretty cool. He wears an eye patch.
It looks less like an eye patch and more like they put a black wax on the side of his face in the costume department.
And Servalan makes this remark like, can't technology fix your eye and give you like a cybernetic eye that'll be able to...
Yeah, she said
help you see.
Apparently, this part, what Servalan explains about his face, isn't until later on, when Blake's explaining his relation to Travis. But basically she says like, oh, really clunkily like, oh, you were injured in that one attack, weren't you? And there was like a field doctor who started the repair on your face. Why did you never go to like a proper medical technician and have them patch it up so it looks like your regular face again? Travis is like, are you kidding? Are you suggesting cosmetic surgery, Servalan? I like how I look.
I think he says that it's a reminder of his defeat or whatever.
He also says that this way no one will fail to recognize him. Everyone will know that he's Travis.
Yeah.
You know, really just wants everybody to know he's coming, I guess. Anyway, so back on the Liberator, Blake and them are all listening to messages, and this is when they find out Travis is back
from prison. And Blake is like, oh God, it's Travis. And they're like, who's Travis?
He's like, I thought I killed Travis. And they're like, who's Travis?
So Blake details his backstory with Travis. Before Blake...
his mind wipes the first time.
Another thing about this scene is that Blake's full personality seems to be back. It didn't seem to be back before this, but now he seems totally on board with who he used to be, I guess.
Yeah, he just apparently remembers all these really specific details about his prior life as a resistance leader.
Yeah.
Because he tells a story about how they had a resistance meeting, but he posted guards outside 24 hours, or watchers 24 hours before to look for anybody who might crash the meeting, and no one came, so he thought they were safe, but they went in and Travis was already in there. He'd been there for 2 days, probably met in a parking garage. When I was imagining the story, they met in a parking garage.
All right.
And Blake said that they surrendered, but Travis just ordered his guards to start firing. People were dying. People were diving for non-existent cover.
Blake was the only one who made it out of there alive.
Yeah, Blake got a gun off a guard apparently, but he got hit in the leg and went down. And he saw Travis and he shot, and he shot Travis and he saw Travis go down. He was pretty sure that he killed Travis, but
he didn't.
So
yeah.
And then Blake's like, and then I had my mind wiped, and then they made me confess to a bunch of things I didn't do, and then they basically made me apologize and say I wasn't in my right mind, and then the resistance kind of collapsed, and then they held me up as a model citizen, and then they like wiped my mind again. That was in episode 1. You guys like weren't there for that. They wiped my mind again. They had a farce trial where I basically pled not guilty to child diddling, but
and the
you
rest
guys didn't
is
know
history.
that.
Yeah, so I guess sort of a nice setup for a rival character to Blake in a larger capacity than Avon, I guess.
Well, an actual like rival, because Avon, yeah, talks a big game, but he hasn't done anything yet about it. You know, he talks the talk, but he hasn't walked the walk yet, and so he doesn't really seem like any sort of.
He doesn't seem like a threat.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like an antithesis character to Blake,
No,
an
no.
antagonist to Blake.
Especially since he's on Blake's side,
Yeah. Most of the
in
time.
name, whereas Travis is, a member of the Federation. So
the evil Federation, who's killing everyone. Do it. And yeah, it's kind of cool how they edit this, because Travis starts telling the story to Silverland, and then it like zooms in on a picture of Blake, and then it cuts to Blake explaining the rest of the story.
That's a pretty common technique. I mean, now, but I don't know how common it was in 1978. So yeah, pretty cool there.
Yeah, Travis, before they actually explain the story, Travis goes back to Kentaro to find out what went wrong. And
he finds the guards and scientists, or the cleanup crew, I guess, and scientists just sort of not doing their job.
Well, they started cleaning up, and Travis like, I thought I told you.
To their ability.
I thought I told you not to touch anything till I got here. And the guy's like, I thought we could get started before you got here. Travis is like, don't disobey my orders again.
I thought Travis was just going to start shooting people, honestly.
And then they find Callie, who's miraculously still alive.
Yeah. And they take her into custody as a trap for Blake.
Yeah, well, not as a trap yet, because Travis doesn't realize he can set it up as a trap till he finds out that they have the cipher
Blake
machine.
has the cipher machine.
But he doesn't know they have the cipher machine yet, because...
I mean, he basically finds out right now, because...
Well, he figures out that there's something off, because he says that they could have set the charge in 30 seconds and then left, but they stuck around for 5 to 10 minutes, so they had to have been doing something else, but they don't know what else. So he tells them to categorize every piece of machinery in that room in the next 6 hours, and the guy's like, it's going to take like at least a month, and he's like, 6 hours? Have it done. 6 hours.
So eventually figures out that they stole the cipher machine, and Servalan, he reports that to Servalan, who decides that they need to change the codes, or else Blake will know exactly what they're doing. But Travis comes up with the idea to use the fact that they can read the codes to lure them into a trap.
Yeah, well, because he says if they change the codes, then Blake will know that they know that he's got the cipher machine. It reminds me a lot of like when they cracked the Enigma code in World War II, and they cracked a German code in World War II, but they couldn't act on it. They like learned of an attack that was going to happen, but they couldn't act on it because then the Germans would know that they had broken the code, and then the Germans would change their code, and they'd have to go through all the process of cracking it again. And there was like a big debate about whether or not they should act upon the information and try to stop the attack, or if they should consider the potential future intelligence gained by cracking the code to be more valuable than stopping the attack.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it doesn't go that in depth in the show, but
I mean, it's an interesting conundrum, because it's kind of like, how do you weigh the future against what you know
like
now?
Potential lives that could be lost.
Yeah. Like, how do you weigh the potential lives that could be lost versus the ones that you know are going to be lost if you
don't do anything?
Yeah.
But yeah, they set up this trap with Callie.
Yeah, they basically send this message, is like, we have someone alive from the Liberator. The super non-suspicious message. We have this person alive. They were on the Liberator. Just keep them for torture. Torturer.
Callie tells Travis that Blake will never come back for her, and Travis is like, oh yeah. As soon as Blake hears the message, he's like, well, gotta go back for her.
Everyone's like, "Ah, man."
I didn't really like her anyway. No.
I don't know. Phyllis seemed to like her quite a bit.
Yeah, they go back for her.
Obviously.
But they use Travis's own ploy against him, because Travis is like, Blake will be here any minute now. Gonna be here any minute now. And he goes out and he's like, where's Blake? Comes back in the room, and Blake and Callie, well, I guess Blake had just been hiding there for longer than Travis had anticipated. Frees Callie, and they're like, so long.
There was a scene where Travis orders Callie to be like, to inject some chemicals into her, which will cause her like pain. But then I was thinking about this, because I was thinking about how like, like pepper, spicy things are spicy to humans, but they're not like spicy to birds. They're like they really like those things, because
spice is pain, so it'll affect your. It's like pain on your taste buds. So I guess you don't have the same taste buds. You're not gonna taste it, I guess.
Yeah, but like to birds, it's like a really they really like it because it makes them feel pleasure. So I was thinking, like, what if these chemicals they're injecting into Callie, like, just don't make her feel
super
pain?
strange.
Yeah, what if they're like, to her species, they're like steroids. To her metabolism, it just metabolizes as like, maybe it's like LSD, she just starts tripping in the chair. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's something that I've ever seen approached in a science fiction show, that like, these chemicals that they're injecting into these other species.
I'm sure some story or another does it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd like to see it because I think that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
That
She seems similar enough to a human that they would, know.
Yeah, she does. And it seems like...
Plus, it seems like they...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think her species is, like, totally alien to humans because she was working with the Federation, the Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but it's just an interesting thing to think about.
But yeah, so Blake frees Callie, and then
they have Travis at gunpoint, and Travis is like, all right then, just end it, kill me, Blake. And Blake's like, you're not important enough to kill Travis, which I guess is like a huge blow to Travis's pride since he wants to be remembered. But like, come on, he's a deadly commander. Like, I mean, this is going to come back to bite them.
But Blake also says, like, if he killed Travis, he'd just be replaced. And I can kind of see why Blake wouldn't kill him then, because Blake knows Travis, so he knows how Travis would think. So if he leaves Travis in command, he knows his enemy, kind of thing.
I guess.
Whereas if he kills Travis, Travis could be replaced with some complete rando that Blake has no idea how he acts.
But Travis seems a lot more competent than anyone else and seems like a huge threat. So I definitely think this is going to come back to bite them later on.
I mean, it probably will, but at the same time, Blake doesn't know that other Federation commanders are incompetent nubbins.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Blake seems to, like, really underestimate the Federation at times.
But anyway, Travis is extremely, maybe not distraught at this, but like hates Blake even more. He's like the one guy who he was unable to kill now thinks he's unimportant and just a nobody. So he's like, I'll get you one day, Blake.
Blake's
get you
like,
one
right.
day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's kind of how the episode ends with just Travis.
Well, they beam up to the Liberator and Blake's just like, standard by 6 speed. Well, actually, Gan tells the computer to set battle computers to interceptor evasion. Also, at one point, Travis asks for these new, I don't know, Starship class starships from Serverland. Serverland's like, we've only built 3 of those ever, and they're all assigned to the 9th Fleet. And Travis is like, get me those spaceships, or Blake's not going to be dead. Serverland's like, okay.
Doesn't use the ships in his plan, though, so...
Those will probably come back later, I suspect.
Sure.
Travis wants them because they're the most advanced ship the Federation has ever built, and Blake's got a ship
still
that's
not as good as the Liberator.
Yeah, but Blake's got a ship that's still well above and beyond anything the Federation has ever even, thought of constructing.
Yeah, that actually brings up something I was going to bring up, which is that, as I continue to watch, I'm really hoping they actually go into, like, the backstory of the Liberator. Because otherwise it's just a massive coincidence that Blake is, like, able to do anything, because it's basically all on the Liberator. I mean, if he didn't have the Liberator, kind of just be, dead. So, I mean, I'm guessing that it's going to be revealed that, like, it wasn't a coincidence that they found the Liberator or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Although, I mean, I don't know, maybe knowing, like, 1970s BBC television, like, maybe it is just a massive coincidence
maybe it was just a massive stroke of luck that the Liberators drifted into the London while they were being transported on that prison ship. I mean, I honestly suspect that that's more likely to be the explanation than anything else. I'd like them to at least explain maybe a little bit of where the Liberator's from, because,
would be nice.
There's this ship that's way more advanced than the Federation, which implies that there's...
They don't know anything about it either.
Yeah, which implies that there's some sentient species somewhere in the galaxy that's way more advanced than the Federation. So the question is, why hasn't the Federation encountered them before, I guess? Or have they encountered them before and they just, like, kept it secret? Or, that's kind of also something interesting to think about. It's kind of an implication of the Liberator just being the super advanced ship that's not being explained. And yeah, it just ends with him running off to who knows where, away from another Federation patrol for the 3rd week in a row. Federation Seems to have a lot of patrols.
Yeah, one thing that I didn't notice until this episode, and I'm surprised I didn't notice this, was that the Blake 7 logo is the Federation logo.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that previously, which like calls into question how the Liberator can display the logo on its like radar thing.
Maybe it's stored in its data banks. I mean, like we said a couple weeks ago, it was weird that the Liberator, for being an alien spaceship, knows...
Seems perfect for like Blake's crew.
Yes, well, you see, it seems perfect for Blake's crew, but also like knows all these planets and systems that Blake talks about using like Federation terminology.
Yeah, yep.
Because, it's unlikely
But
that
then-
an alien species would categorize the planets with the same names.
But then again, like Zen read their minds, so
Yeah, that's also true. That's also a thing that just hasn't been touched on since they first introduced Zen, which is that Zen is also
psychic
telepathic, or psychic.
to some extent at least. But hopefully they actually do things with that.
Yeah, Zen is the least developed character on the show so far. Come on, get it together, Terry Nation. You introduce a sentient computer who's psychic and you don't do anything with it. The big mistake, Terry Nation. Big mistake.
Other than that, good episode. Really like how it introduced Travis and Servalan.
Mm-hmm. Both of whom I think are recurring
Yeah, they both are.
characters / antagonists /
Yeah.
villains, depending on who you want to consider the good guys in this story.
Yeah, Servalan is like one of the most popular characters on the show, similar to Avon. So, I don't know.
Maybe it's because she gets all the cool lines as well, I guess. I don't know. She seemed pretty witty and intelligent in this story,
Yeah, yeah.
but she was definitely not the main villain
No,
of this
she
story.
wasn't. She wasn't.
So, maybe she'll get more development later on. Maybe Travis will die and then Servalan will take matters into her own hands.
Yeah, somehow I doubt that.
I mean, the thing is, somebody has to die at the end of this. Either Blake or Travis. One of the two of them would die.
Well, I already know what happens, and
That's
I'm just
kind of
not
like
going to say
a
anything.
Sherlock Moriarty situation. That one or both of them has to die at the end of all of this.
Yeah, I'm just not going to say anything. Anything I say would be a massive spoiler, so...
Massive spoiler, like, Blake's the main focus of the show. Mostly. Anyway, yeah, good episode. You can email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, arguments, love letters, your thoughts on Servalan and Travis. Both of them together. And also that guy that Servalan may or may not be sleeping with. They like sit really tenderly on the couch and she's like caressing his arm. So that was interesting. Anyway, you can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Zenith, or just look for Blake 7 on those platforms. We know that works. And leave a rating if you like the show. We like reading feedback.
Check us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're watching Mission to Destiny. But until then, the end.